And now our next session will focus on, and this is a big panel, our next session will focus on the technical trends that are expected to shape the future of blockchain in the next 3 to 5 years. I'd like to know that. Panelists will explain these innovations in simple terms, thank God, addressing topics like sharding, zero-knowledge proofs, and layer 1 advances. They will share insights on how these developments will impact user adoption, transaction speed, and overall blockchain efficiency. But before we start, I'd like to thank the sponsor of this panel, MyCoinPoll. So discover MyCoinPoll's innovative platform, empowering projects with Launchpad, NFT integration, and blockchain e-commerce solutions. Visit Startup Booth M to learn more and get involved.
Good afternoon, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Abdullah Al-Juaid, the finance reporter at CNN Business Arabic. First of all, let me extend my gratitude to Blockchain Live team for having me here and for giving me also that chance to moderate this insightful panel with our esteemed speaker. Our topic for today is our future. It is tomorrow, it's the future of us. The blockchain core technical advancements. Okay, so we'll start by the first question. Some argued that sharding introduces complexity in network design. So how do you reconcile this complexity with the need to maintain simplicity for developers and for users? We'll start by you, Mr. Joshua, please.
Well, on top of all of the panelists just talked about, I just want to add something on top of that is actually, when we think about the developers, we should not only just think about the technical developers, but also the business developers. And honestly, I believe in the next bull run, the viable applications, like which kind of the application can be viable, accessible to the normal people, will be the center of attention. And I think try to simplify that process, or by leveraging the different tools or different emerging technology, not only blockchain but also the AI, IoT, make it as a total solution, could ease the process to build the application. That will be the key to simplify the whole process and eventually benefits to the mass adoptions.
Thank you. I'll start with you regarding the second question, which is how do zero-knowledge proofs enhance both security and also safety? And in your opinion, what are the barriers to wider adoption of ZPKs today?
Well, zero-knowledge proof has been alive for quite a few years. It's not really like, let's say, strange or new technology. Actually, it's very useful, valuable technology. Although, right now in the crypto world, I think the meme coin is more trendy or hot than the ZK, which I believe ZK is much more valuable.
What's the reason here? What's the reason here?
I think it's lack of the applications, like where to adopt that, right? ZK is very useful. For example, in Europe, everybody knows GDPR. And every application, especially in the crypto side, when we think about mass adoptions to help the normal people, and the GDPR is something you have to comply. And I would say ZK is just perfect solution for that. However, is how we have that kind of application at a scale, and then people will need that, people will use that. The demand will drive the adoption of such kind of cool technology. I think trend is a trend, right? We have seen so many trends in the crypto side, in the short waves, up and downs. But eventually, only the cool technology, the real useful, valuable technology, eventually becomes the jewels of the crowns. And just waiting people to discover that by applications.
I agree. Thank you. Thank you. I'll move to the AI section now. As AI become more powerful, many fear the misuse or the bias or manipulated data. How can blockchain technology will help to solve this issue? I'll start with Mr. Arthur, please.
There's a few things, but to be honest, not a lot. So, like in that category, a lot of people will come like towards traceability. But let's imagine what a traceability solution would look like, for example, for the authenticity of a picture. What I think will happen is that a lot of camera equipment, especially like mobile phones, will start using secure enclaves to sign pictures. So you'll take a picture, and then your Samsung phone or your iPhone will have the key from Samsung or Apple certify that yes, this was taken by this phone. You'll still have an analog hold. Maybe you can take a picture of something else. Maybe they have depth sensors, so it'll be a little bit of a battle, but at least it'll make it much more difficult to fix this. And then at some point, way down the chain, I guess maybe you can timestamping on a blockchain. And timestamping has been around since before Bitcoin. You had the Haber-Stornada blockchain that was being published in the Financial Times. So timestamping is nice, it works. Is just not exciting. Like it's, especially if you look in terms of number of transactions, you could have like one transaction a day on a blockchain costing like 1 cent, and you would use that transaction to notarize millions and millions of documents. So yes, there's a small part to play. I would say like 99% of this is on the secure enclave, actually signing the image. That's the hard part. But a lot of people who want to sell blockchain will sell it as a solution to everything, and like it can play a small part, but it's definitely not the ingredient, and the total economic opportunity for blockchains to do something like this is limited to pennies.
Thank you. Mr. Sonny, can we have your answer, please?
Yeah, well, I would say AI and blockchain is working like best buddies. They're working side by side for the different type of aspects. Actually, we're doing that. We launched the new ecosystem, which is called vbetter.com. It's a DAO ecosystem to support the different type of application to incentivize individuals to do better actions or make a better choice on daily basis. And AI just make feasibility so much, let's say, executionable or practical, actually. Just a single example, how do you verify your small actions on your daily basis? Right? You can take a photo, and AI can help you to identify that. Yeah, I know that accuracy is still like long way to go, but at least we can have something to start. And more picture to feed to the engine, and the AI will be more smarter to verify your different actions. And then blockchain, the smart contract just based on your actions, based on the value coming from the fractional effort, and give you rewards right away. So it's just like working best buddies side by side. I believe in the future, like AI and blockchain just everywhere for the different type of applications.
Thank you. Mr. Hugo, please, your answer.
I think your question was how blockchains can make AI more essentially robust and less biased, right?
Yeah.
So I think there are ways that you can use AI with blockchains today, but I don't think that is related to your question. I think I've seen a lot of talk about decentralized training. Personally, I'm quite bearish on that because I think it will never be able to compete with very, very large data centers like Google and Amazon who are buying nuclear power. The cost of decentralized training is very unlikely to come down so substantially that it was economically feasible. So from our perspective at Flare, we're very focused on how can we use consensus to essentially de-risk what an AI agent or what an AI model is outputting. And we think that we have an interesting angle on that.
Thank you. Mr. Mustafa.
Yeah, I guess there's kind of like two different questions that have been discussed. I think the first one is like how blockchains can be used to verify kind of like real versus AI stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I mean that's kind of an interesting one because kind of like a big problem on the internet that has existed for a long time is this idea of Sybil resistance. Like if you go on Twitter, there's lots of bots, and that problem is only getting worse with AI. Like how do you differentiate between like an AI user versus a real user? And that's where kind of like in blockchain systems there's a lot of experimentation around things like proof of humanity or proof of personhood. So it's like, how can I prove that an action was done by a real person and not like some symbol or a bot or an AI? And that's basically like the whole point of things like WorldCoin, right? Like WorldCoin was created by the co-founder of OpenAI specifically so that you can differentiate humans between AI in an internet where it's hard to differentiate that. But in terms of the other part of the question, which is like, how do we kind of like integrate AI with blockchains? I think an interesting element of that is this idea of on-chain AI. So like we have smart contracts, right? But imagine if we can embed like AI agents on-chain that can do certain tasks, and that AI agent, like you could have a DAO or a decentralized autonomous organization that's run by an AI agent, for example, that might pay people to do tasks, for example. And that's something that we're exploring at Celestia because there's like that's a use case that inherently requires a lot of on-chain data usage because these data models are inherently very large. So there's people exploring use cases on Celestia where let's upload on-chain AI models on-chain, and different organizations or different users might have different models, and then you can execute them on-chain, and those AI models basically kind of like exist on-chain.
Thank you, Mr.
Yeah, I agree with my panelists. I don't think that AI and blockchain would marry as two technologies. However, AI is changing society, and where I see blockchain shines in post-AGI, UBI society is to have transparent governance, identity system where Sybil attack resistant, where everybody can transparently contribute in a democracy and vote and voice their opinion. Data authenticity, digital identity, it's going to be where in the age of AI, blockchain will shine.
Thank you. I'll break the ice of the technical words here by asking, please, I need your answers. Where do you see the crypto market headed between Harris and Donald Trump? You can start, please, Mr. Sonny.
Well, I think, I have been in the crypto side for 11, 12 years. So this time is a full cycle. Every 4 years is a cycle in the crypto side, in the crypto market. And we call it like a crypto World Cup, right? Every 4 years, you work very hard for the first 3.5 years, that's bear market. And then you enjoy the last 6 months, which is the bull market. So every 4 years is like that. But I feel like this cycle is so much different because, well, I think the signal was starting from the January when the Bitcoin ETF approved. So that means the players are different. There are more institutional investors coming to the space. Actually, just a few weeks ago, I was in New York. I met with some of the institutional investors. They gave me really fresh ideas, like the different than the normal crypto perspective. They're actually looking at the fundamentals. When I say fundamentals, it's more than just like TVL or liquidity or transaction volume, that kind of the crypto native fundamentals. They're actually asking the question like, okay, what kind of problem you try to solve? What's your value proposition? What's your market opportunity? What's your growth story? This kind of fundamentals. So I would say this time the market might be really different. Depends on what you really do or what kind of the deliverables you can push to the market. In summary, I believe it's the new era about the applications. So it's like the same thing happening in the internet. In the beginning, the good companies are IBM, Cisco, AT&T, those kind of infrastructure companies. Actually, people are looking for where's the Facebook, where's Google, where's Apple, those kind of application companies. Eventually, application will really drive the mass adoption, bring the entire crypto world to the next level. So in summary, I believe the future is about application. Anybody can have viable, accessible application to the normal user will sit in the center of attentions.
Thank you, Mr. Arthur.
Sorry, so I didn't quite hear the question. I heard it was about Harris and Trump, but...
Yeah, between Harris and Trump and what we've seen regarding the SEC, and it was very tough on the crypto leaders and the crypto community. Between Harris and Trump, Where are you seeing the market headed, the crypto market headed?
I mean, I don't. First of all, I don't think people should necessarily be single-issue voters, right? There's a lot of issues out there, and there's a lot of reasons to pick different candidates. But like on the crypto issue specifically, it's pretty clear that the Democratic Party has waged an all-out war on the crypto industry. From the banking side, the SEC, all sides. So I don't think this is going to change. Maybe like there will be a marginal improvement because it's hard to get worse than it is. But that's pretty clear. So that's. I don't think there's a mystery here.
Okay, thank you. You have an answer about that?
Well, that's just one thing. The nice thing is, like, despite the all-out, despite basically like an all-out war, the industry has been extremely resilient, and what's been wonderful has been the resiliency of the U.S. court system, with important court victory being won over the past couple of years, which shows that even with an entire political apparatus, even with the entire U.S. government fighting this thing, the industry has managed to be resilient and thrive.
Thank you. Yes.
I think they're probably not the biggest issue, although they really are being seen as the biggest issue right now, although I would note only one of them has a crypto token. But I think generally the bigger issue for me is, we find ourselves in a really weird place where we have institutional adoption through ETFs, and yet the largest product in our industry is meme coins, or excluding stable coins, which are probably the most valid use case of blockchain today. For me, and I think I echo Sunny's point, which is what we want to see is applications that are intrinsic to people's lives. As yet, we're not there, and probably because the infrastructure is not yet capable, and that's why at Flare we're looking at off-chain compute.
Thank you.
So I think while we're discussing politics, I think it's important to remember why we're here in the first place, because Bitcoin and cryptocurrency was created. The whole point of it is that it was created to create an economic or financial system outside of the jurisdiction of nation states, and that isn't directly affected by nation state politics and that kind of thing. That's the main cool thing about crypto. It's like the Bitcoin created a system where the laws aren't enforced by nation states; it's enforced by cryptography network. So maybe in the short term, maybe the election results, people care about that, or the market cares about that. In the long term, it doesn't really matter. It's they're all the same.
Thank you.
Yeah, on the politics, no comment. Let's just focus on building unstoppable technologies, regardless of the politicians.
Yes, but let me clarify. It wasn't a political question. We know that every single person of them is going in another direction. So this is why I asked this question. It was like a kind of fun question. So I think we only can ask one more question. Please try to be concise as much as you can. The last question is, what are the main technical bottlenecks currently preventing mass adoption of the blockchain, and how do you see them being resolved in the next 3 to 5 years?
Okay, I'll go first. I maybe have a controversial take. I think we are not at the point that we have technical bottlenecks. I think every use case can be solved with the technology we have available. I think the bottlenecks are now more from a solving real problem point of view. You can pick any blockchain today and scale to many number of transactions. You can build your video game, your DeFi protocol, and as an engineer, I don't see any unsurmountable barrier. So I just think now with the last 3-4 years, we have invested so much in building infrastructure. It's now time to utilize it. So I don't see any clear bottleneck.
Thank you.
So I think everyone always says, "Oh, there's too much infrastructure and not enough applications." But I think I'll do the contrarian take, which is that we actually need more infrastructure, and there isn't enough infrastructure, and that's the reason why we don't have enough applications. Because I think my benchmark is the killer use case of crypto should be payments. Why after 15 years of crypto, we don't have like a killer payment application where you can just pay people even if it's in stablecoins. I would argue, historically speaking, that's because of a lack of infrastructure. Like even Solana, with its 2000 TPS, has not been able to kind of scale that use case. But now I think recently with technologies like rollups and off-chain execution, we're starting to see kind of really cool, like really good applications of that. Like there's a protocol called Pay, which is like a very like Venmo-like experience for payments.
Thank you. Please.
Yeah, I'd echo that infrastructure is still lacking. I still think it's too hard to use, public and private keys for 99% of people. I think once you solve that, probably using some form of infrastructure, then you've got, a route to mass adoption. Then people just need to build the applications.
Thank you, Mr. Arthur.
Yeah, so I agree that we're not bound by fundamental, like technical issues. It's more a lot of quality of life things that could be, infrastructures, good API providers, this type of things. I also think developer experience is pretty bad right now on blockchains, and one of the things that we've been working on is onboarding developers using mainstream programming languages so that you can use any language, because the technological stack is not just theoretical. It's also, there's a massive amount of libraries and tooling that exists for mainstream programming languages, and right now, we're bottlenecked by a few thousand developers in the world using kind of tools which have been fully put together to try to write smart contracts that break all the time. So we're trying to change that, and I think it's been a real bottleneck.
Thank you. Please.
Well, honestly, I don't think there is. I agree with Giorgio. Actually, there is no let's say technical bottom or technical barriers right now. Actually, there are many infrastructures really, like a custodian or third-party social login can adopt a normal non-crypto user. You don't need to worry about the public key, private key, those kind of hassles. But I vote for applications. Applications should be the king of the new trend. Then the question will be, how are you going to build up the application so easily to address the real problems, right? So I would say, if we talk about any technical barriers, that will be quite in a high level, or in a let's say big picture, what those AI, IoT, and blockchain can really combine, can really emerge to generate that kind of solution. That's a number one. Number two is how we can make the builders are so much easier to build the application. Actually, I set up the goal to my CTO. Okay, for any developers, even they don't know about the coding, 2 weeks, that should be the time window to build any decentralized application. Because other than the internet, internet, when we think about the Web 2, it's a giant company, tech company. They can have a huge technical team to build up the amazing platform. That's great. But in the Web 3, it's more decentralized way. So builders should come in from everywhere. It's like I only wanted to build something to serve my friends and families or people I know, maybe just 100 users. That's fine. That's a beauty of the decentralized way. So in summary, I would say, having some tool to allow the normal people, even non-technical people, to build decentralized application in 2 weeks way, that will be really lead to the massive adoption for the blockchain technology.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, please join your hands together to thank our esteemed speakers. See you next year. Thank you so much. On time.